Good evening and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget. It is Friday, so doing a Friday show. Not used to doing a Friday show, but had two shows earlier in the week, so push this one off. This is our picks episode, so it is Friday, October 18th, year of our Lord 2024. Before I go ahead and get into my top five picks, both in college football and the NFL, want to just go ahead and say, please like and subscribe right down here on the video version on YouTube under Sports Talk on a Budget. Leave a comment with some of your top picks. I would love to be able to see some of your guys' top picks for the week. And then on the audio version, please like, subscribe to places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or basically wherever you get your podcasts. But as I mentioned, this is going to be my picks podcast, going to do my top five picks in week 8 of college football and my top five picks in week 7 in the NFL. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the show. So first one, we actually have a really good slate of college football games again this weekend. Has been just banger after banger after banger week. Even 2 weeks ago when we thought it was going to be a sleepy Saturday in college football, it was upsets galore. And then last week we had just big games, big ranked matchups all weekend, great games all weekend. So another good slate of college football games. Let's go ahead and start in the SEC in the ACC. And I have number 6, Miami at Louisville. Now, Louisville has had 2 back-to-back losses to Notre Dame and SMU, and then had a bye last week. Currently, Miami is a 4.5-point favorite in this game. Now, Miami could be coming off of 2 straight losses as well. Got bailed out, I think, by the refs about 3 weeks ago against Virginia Tech. And then 2 weeks ago at Cal, basically were down 25 at one point. Looked like the game was in Cal's hands, and Cam Ward and Miami storm back, get the victory. Huge victory there. Some questionable calls down the stretch with the targeting and other things. So things seem to be going Miami's way as far as officiating goes, but still, they got the 2 victories. You're not apologizing for victories here in today's college football, and you're never apologizing for victories here. Matchups to look forward to. Louisville is not great against the pass. Their secondary is not great against the pass, and obviously when you're going up against Cam Ward, who's definitely a Heisman finalist at this point, that is not good. So don't love that matchup for Louisville. Miami is a 4.5-point favorite. How many more times are going to be able to play with fire like they did against Virginia Tech, like they did on the road at Cal? They're coming off a bye as well, but how many times are going to be able to play with fire and not get burned, basically? So that's a question mark there. Louisville has kind of been a little bit of a disappointing team. They played well on the road at Notre Dame and then came back home and did not play great as they were upset at home against SMU. Like I said, this Miami team, everything's out in front of them. They don't have another ranked team on their schedule until at least the conference championship game, which is probably going to be Clemson, but it still a lot left to come out there. So everything's ahead of them. They're an undefeated team. They're in the driver's seat to make a playoff, and they're in the driver's seat to get to the ACC championship game. Like I said, the matchup with Miami's passing game versus Louisville's secondary is not great. Now, Louisville can run the ball and score in their own right, so I think they'll be able to score on this Miami defense, which has struggled in their past 2 games against Cal and Virginia Tech. So I think Miami wins and covers. I just think Cam Ward's too much for that Louisville defense. So give me Miami minus 4.5, but I think this could be a high-scoring affair. Miami minus 4.5 is the play there. And then we'll move over to the SEC, and we have, yes, it is the 3rd Saturday in October, so you know what that means. Alabama's playing Tennessee, and that is number 7 Alabama and number 11 Tennessee. Alabama is currently a 3-point favorite in this game. Now, both these teams are not playing great right now. Both these teams had 2 upset losses a couple weeks ago. Alabama lost at Vanderbilt. Tennessee lost at Arkansas. And then both these teams on one side of the ball are not playing well, whether it's Tennessee's offense was a struggle in the last couple of weeks. Alabama's defense was a struggle in the last couple of weeks. So this, I think, might be a low-scoring game because Tennessee's defense is definitely the strength of their team, and I think they'll be able to slow down this Alabama offense. Well, the strength of the Alabama team is on their offense. Their defense has struggled lately, but Tennessee's offense hasn't really been able to do much throughout the season or throughout the last 2 games. Nico Iamaleava is kind of sputtered in the last couple of games. His growth is kind of sputtered in these last 2 games. So don't know what to expect on the offensive side for Tennessee, but they're going up against, I think, a very, very vulnerable defense in Alabama. So can they generate some points? Can they generate some yards? Can Nico Iamaleava get back on track and continue that trajectory that we thought he was going to be on throughout the season, and certainly at this point, kind of the midway point of the season here? So like I said, the matchups there I don't love, but I think this Alabama offense will be able to score at least 20 to 25 points against this Tennessee team. And this Tennessee offense just isn't showing that they can score that. I don't care who they're playing on the defensive side. So I think Alabama goes into Knoxville. We remember this one 2 years ago. Huge upset by, not upset really, but huge game and a win by Tennessee. They take down the goalpost, they throw it into the river. So we remember this game 2 years ago in Knoxville. It was an instant classic. I don't think this is going to have near the firepower of that game. In fact, like I said, I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Alabama gets to about 20, 24, and that's enough to win and cover. So give me Alabama -3 to win and cover in this game. And then we'll move to the Big Ten, and kind of a sneaky good matchup here. It's a ranked matchup as well. And this is going to be the Big Ten game on CBS at 1:30, and that is number 24 Michigan at number 22 Illinois. And Michigan is currently a 3.5 point favorite in this game, and it's a contrast in styles. Illinois is a team that likes to throw the ball with Luke Altmaier. They can score on offense. They don't protect the passer great, which could be an issue for them in this game against Michigan's defensive front. But Michigan, did they finally find a quarterback against Washington 2 weeks ago? They're coming off a bye, but 2 weeks ago they inserted Jack Tuttle as their quarterback in the second quarter in that game. And their offense seemed to look more of like a functioning 2024 college football offense, not just running the ball and not just, doing short passes. They were moving the ball down the field, able to get some explosive plays in the passing game. So does that continue for this Michigan team? Because this Michigan team's got a tough stretch down the road when they play Oregon, and they got to go to Ohio State. So they need this victory, and they need it bad, or else it could be a 6-loss season for this team. So I think a little bit of desperation coming off a bye. Illinois does not play great defense, and like I said, they don't protect the quarterback very well. So I think Michigan wins the game, but it's close. It's a close margin because I think Illinois will be able to score, even though they might not be able to protect Luke Altmaier all that great. Close victory for Michigan on the road. I think they win by 3, but that means they don't cover. Give me Illinois +3.5 to cover in this game. And then we'll go back to the SEC for these last 2 games. We'll start in Arkansas, and this is actually a sneaky good game as well. And we have number 8 LSU, who's -2.5 in this game at Arkansas. And we saw what Arkansas did to Tennessee a couple weeks ago. They are an upset-minded team. LSU's coming off that huge victory against Ole Miss last Saturday night at home. They vaulted all the way up to a top 10 team. They're currently the number 8 team in the country, and they also have on the horizon the next 2 weeks after this game, Texas A&M, Alabama. So is this a look-ahead spot? Is this kind of a letdown? It's kind of sandwiched in between a ranked matchup at home against Ole Miss and then 2 ranked matchups on the horizon against Texas A&M and Alabama. Is this kind of a sandwich game? Perfect spot for Arkansas? Question is Taylon Green, the Arkansas quarterback, healthy? Because they're going to need Taylon Green in this game. They're going to need to score points because unlike Tennessee, who they played 2 weeks ago, LSU can move the ball, LSU can score points, and LSU's quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, is playing really good football right now. So not the same matchup that they saw 2 weeks ago against Tennessee. Defense for LSU under Blake Baker has gotten better week after week. They actually held Ole Miss to 23 points in regulation, then held them to a field goal in the overtime. So that was a huge win there because Ole Miss had been scoring points really well against most of their opponents outside of Kentucky early on in the season. So this LSU team, I think they're a team that's going in this direction. They're going up. They had that opening loss against USC in Vegas, but ever since then, they've gotten better each week, both on the offensive side and the defensive side especially. This is a team I think is an ascending team right now in LSU. So give me LSU to win and cover LSU -2.5 to get an underrated big road victory in Arkansas, which can be a tough place to play. And then we'll finish in the SEC, as I mentioned, and this is going to be the matchup of the weekend. We have number 5 Georgia at number 1 Texas, and Texas is currently a 3.5 point favorite in this game. Now, it started off at 5. Money's come in on Georgia and got them down to 3.5. I like Texas a lot. Now, I know Texas really hasn't played an offense with the pulse much of the season. Their biggest matchups were against Oklahoma, who does not have any offense to really speak of, and Michigan, who hasn't really had much of an offense to speak of. So this is going to be by far the biggest test this Texas defense is going to have. Carson Beck and that offense. Now, Carson Beck has played well in the last two games, both versus Auburn and Mississippi State. But a big question mark for me with this Georgia team is the defense. The defense gives up 31 points to Mississippi State last week. Peyton Thorne and Auburn were able to move the ball pretty well. They just weren't able to get in the end zone, and kind of just classic Auburn this year. But they were to move the ball very well in between the 20s. We saw what Alabama did to this defense 3 weeks ago. So this does not look like a Kirby Smart Georgia defense. And Quinn Ewers looked a little rusty coming out of the gate last week against Oklahoma. Now he's got some time under him, another game under him. He played well in the second half against Oklahoma. The wide receivers, Isaiah Bond, is a little bit questionable, but looks like he should be able to go, so that'll be a big boost there. They bring in just running back by committee at Texas and run the ball really well with all of them. Their offensive line has 2 tackles that are probably first-round picks in the NFL draft coming up this year, so I just think this Texas team is more well-rounded and more complete than this Georgia team. This Georgia team, they have good offensive pieces, but they haven't really established a number one wide receiver at this point. And the defense of Georgia, which I never thought would be a problem for Georgia under Kirby Smart, has really been a problem lately. And so I think Texas scores, and I think they cover. So give me Texas to win and cover. Texas minus 3.5 is the play there. And then finally, we'll go ahead and move over to the NFL, and I'll give you my top 5 picks for the week 7 in the NFL. So, yeah, we're moving right along in the NFL as well, almost to the halfway point in the NFL also. A big game on Sunday, Texans at Packers. Packers are 2.5-point favorites. Now, if you look at this Texans team, when they've had to go on the road outside of their win last week against the Patriots, they're not as good on the road as they are at home. They went to Minnesota in week 3 and got hammered. They went on the road and not looked nearly as good when they were on the road in week 1 against the Colts. They kind of had to squeeze out that game against a not very good Colts team. So this team is not the same when they're not at home in Houston, and they haven't been great in Houston either. So they're getting victories, but it hasn't been impressive victories. I do like C.J. Stroud in the direction of this offense. Defense with Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson is very formidable, of course, but this Packers team seems to be coming into their own. They have just a plethora of young weapons on the offensive side, whether it's at running back, wide receiver, tight end. They have just so many weapons on the offensive side. Jordan Love seems to shaking off that rust that he had in that first game against Minnesota. Looked really good last week against Arizona. Looked good in spots 2 weeks ago against the Rams. I think this Packers team, like I said, is coming into their own, and they're going to be a team to reckon with, not just in the NFC, but in the entire NFL. Give me the Packers to win and cover. Packers minus 2.5 is the play there. And then another good game, and this is strictly in the NFC North, not just one NFC North team, 2 NFC North teams, and that is the Lions at the Vikings. And the Lions are currently a 2.5, and the Vikings are currently a 2-point favorite in this game. Now the Lions are coming off a huge victory where they absolutely absolutely pummeled the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas last week. Now they lose Aiden Hutchinson, and that was just a heartbreaking loss. It was tough to watch that play, and it was tough to watch just that whole sequence there with Aiden Hutchinson getting hurt and then getting carted off the field. But this is still a really good Lions team. They run the ball super well with Gibbs and Montgomery. They're starting to establish the pass game again with guys like St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta. Even some of the other new additions that they got are stepping up and playing really well. I really like this Lions team. This Vikings team, their offense started to kind of sputter a little bit against the Jets in London 2 weeks ago, but they are coming off a bye. Their defense does get after the quarterback. So I think this is going to be a really good competitive game. I just think the Lions are the better team, so give me the Lions +2 in this game, especially if I can get points. Give me the Lions +2 as the play for me there. And then we'll move to the Super Bowl rematch in the afternoon, and that is with Brady on the call. And that is the Chiefs at the Niners, and the Niners are currently a 1.5-point favorite in this game. Now, the Chiefs are coming off a bye. The Niners are coming off kind of a mini bye. They played last Thursday against Seattle, so rest isn't really going to be a factor in this game. The Chiefs, under Andy Reid, especially with Patrick Mahomes, absolutely own the 49ers. We remember the 2 victories in the Super Bowl last year and the Super Bowl 3 years ago. They've owned them in the regular season as well. Now, We'll see if that continues, and I think it may continue because like everything as far as offensively points in the direction of the 49ers. They have the better skill position players. Offensive line is kind of a split, but when you have Trent Williams, they get the nod there. But if you look at all the other matchups, who's the better quarterback? Patrick Mahomes. Even though you can argue Brock Purdy is playing better, I'll still take Patrick Mahomes. Who's the better head coach? Kyle Shanahan is a hell of a head coach, but Andy Reid is a better head coach. Who has the better defense? Right now, that's not even close. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you give me all three of those factors, plus you give me 1.5 points, I would take the Chiefs to cover, and I think they probably win outright as well. So give me the Chiefs plus 1.5. They're just finding ways to get victories. Yes, you look at the box score, you look at the stats, and they're like, how are they 5-0? They just find a way to get victories. It really reminds me of the Patriots under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. You'd watch them play some games, especially early on in September and early October, and they're like, how are they winning these games? They don't look good for 3 quarters. They find ways to get victories because they have the edge at quarterback, they have the edge at head coach. And in today's NFL, that goes a hell of a long way. So I think they could win outright, but I think they definitely cover. So give me the Chiefs plus 1.5 in this spot. And then we'll move all the way to the other end of the country, and we have the Seahawks at the Falcons. And the Falcons are currently a 3-point favorite in this game. The Seahawks, I think, have kind of showed their true colors. They've lost their last 3 games. On the road, Monday night, they lose to Detroit. They lose at home to a Giants team that was not a good loss. And then they lose last week on Thursday night against the 49ers. This is kind of the Seahawks team we expected. Expected them to be competitive and be good. We did not expect them to be an undefeated team after 3 weeks, even though they had a really easy schedule early on, especially with the injury to Tua against the Miami Dolphins. So this is kind of the team I expected from the Seahawks. Frisky, good team, but not good enough to beat the better teams in the NFL. And at this point, I think this Falcons team is a better team in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is playing really well. He's distributing the ball to guys like London, Pitts. Darnell Mooney is having a good year for them. They're having a 2-headed monster in the backfield with both Bijan and Tyler Algier. They're playing really well. I think this will be a high-scoring affair because both these defenses aren't really anything to write home about. So I think this will be a high-scoring affair, but it's on the road in Atlanta. So I like the Falcons at home. Give me the Falcons to win and cover. Falcons -3 is a play there. And then we'll go ahead and finish with the game on Monday. One of the games on Monday night. We're having another stupid Monday night doubleheader, and the second game is exclusively on ESPN Plus. Guess what? I won't be watching that second game. I think it's the Chargers and Cardinals. Sorry, we don't need to have just a little bit of a side here. Stop with the Monday night doubleheaders. We don't need to have 2 games on Monday night. 1 game on Monday night, 1 game on Thursday, rest on Sunday, either morning, afternoon, and then 1 night game. That's how the schedule should be. Quit doing these damn doubleheader Monday night games and quit doing these damn exclusive streaming ones. Exclusively on ESPN Plus. Nope, I won't be watching it. Maybe I'll catch the highlights somewhere else, but I won't be watching it. So we're going to talk about the other Monday night game, and that is the Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Baltimore Ravens are currently a 3.5 point favorite in this game. I think this is going to be a really good game. And I think this will be a high-scoring game as well as some of the other games, kind of a theme of the NFL picks. Neither of these defenses are very good, but these offenses and these quarterbacks are playing really well. Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, you can argue that they're both MVP candidates right now, and I think they are. Both of them are playing really well. Both running games are running really well. Obviously, you have Derrick Henry for the Baltimore Ravens, but the tandem of Rashad White and Bucky Irving for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is looking really good as well. Bucky Irving might be kind of a dark horse for an offensive rookie of the year. Probably not with what Jaden and Caleb are doing, but still maybe a dark horse there. 3.5 points is a lot on the road, Monday night game. Tampa Bay is not a tough place to play, but it's a different place to play. This is a team that is playing really well, playing with a lot of confidence. Their quarterback in Baker Mayfield is playing with a lot of confidence. I think they keep it close, and I think they keep it close enough to cover. Give me the Buccaneers plus 3.5. That is the play for me there. I think they cover. I could see the Ravens winning outright on like a field goal, but I think the Buccaneers cover. Buccaneers plus 3.5 is the play there. And those have been my college football and NFL picks for this week. Please like and subscribe to the show right down here on YouTube under Sports Talk on a Budget. Hell, leave me a comment with some of your top picks of the weekend. And then if you like the audio version, you can find it on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Like and subscribe to the place that you like to listen. But thank you again for always watching and listening, and have a great day.